Hello dear listeners, welcome to another Life History channel. I hope you're ready to sleep. Let your shoulders drop and relax now. Tonight we journey to ancient Egypt, not as a commoner, but as the ultimate ruler. But there is a truth you must understand. You are not just a king, you are a living god. Before we begin, maybe hit subscribe and tell me where you are right now and what time it is. I love reading comments. Tokyo at 3 a.m, Chicago at midnight, London during a morning journey to work. It's fascinating how we're all present at once. Let's begin. You wake before the sun has touched the horizon line ahead. The darkness in your chamber is complete and absolute surrounding you. Your bed is carved from cedar wood and covered with linen sheets. The air is cool against your skin in these hours before dawn. You can hear nothing except your own breath moving slowly and steadily. The palace sleeps around you in silence, deep and peaceful always. You rise from the bed and your feet touch the stone floor. The stone is smooth and cool beneath your bare soles touching down. You stand and stretch your arms above your head, carefully and slowly. A servant enters carrying a small oil lamp that flickers gently glowing. The flame casts shadows on the walls painted with scenes of gods. The servant bows low and places the lamp on a table nearby waiting. You walk to the washing basin filled with water brought at night. The water is cool and you splash it on your face and neck. Droplets run down your chest and you feel more awake with each touch. The servant brings you a clean white linen kilt pleated perfectly and starched. You wrap it around your waist and fasten it with practiced movements done. The fabric is soft against your skin and smells of incense smoke lingering. A wide collar of gold and lapis lazuli is placed around your neck. The weight is familiar and comforting, pressing down on your shoulders gently. Each piece of the collar has been crafted by master artisans working. Gold bracelets are slipped onto your wrists one at a time, carefully placed. They catch the lamplight and gleam softly in the dim room surrounding. The metal is warm from being held by the servant's hands helping. A Nemes headdress is arranged on your head, covering your hair completely hidden. The striped linen falls over your shoulders in the traditional manner worn. The Uraeus serpent at the front marks you as Pharaoh ruling over all. You take the crook and flail from the servant's outstretched hands offered. These symbols of kingship rest in your crossed arms held against chest. They are made of gold and wood inlaid with precious stones shining. The servant leads you through corridors lit by oil lamps placed regularly along. The walls are painted with hieroglyphs telling stories of gods and kings. Your sandals make soft sounds on the stone floor beneath your feet. You enter the temple attached to the palace for morning rituals required. The air here is thick with incense burning in bronze braziers standing. Priests are already gathered waiting for your arrival to begin ceremonies needed. The high priest bows deeply before you and gestures toward the inner sanctuary. You walk forward alone as tradition demands from pharaohs, always following customs. The doorway is narrow and you must bend slightly to pass through entering. Inside the sanctuary a statue of Ra stands tall and golden gleaming. The statue's eyes are inlaid with rock crystal that seems alive watching. You approach and bow your head in respect to the sun god. You speak the ancient prayers learned since childhood, repeated every morning faithfully. The words are in the old language known only to priests and kings. Your voice echoes softly in the small stone chamber surrounding you completely. You pour water from a golden ewer over the statue's feet, ceremonially done. The water runs down into a basin carved from granite stone below. This act purifies and awakens the god for the new day beginning. You light incense in a small holder placed before the statue, burning slowly. The smoke rises in thin streams toward the ceiling painted with stars. The scent is myrrh and frankincense mixed together, creating sacred atmosphere needed. You offer bread and beer and meat placed on an altar table standing. These offerings will sustain the god's spirit throughout the day passing forward. The priests will consume them later after the god has taken essence. The ritual is complete, and you back away from the sanctuary respectfully bowing. The priests chant prayers as you exit, returning to the outer temple space. The sun is beginning to rise outside the temple walls, standing tall. You walk to the palace roof where you can see the horizon clearly. The sky is turning pink and gold as Ra's boat appears slowly rising. You raise your arms in greeting to the sun, God emerging triumphant. The warmth of the first rays touches your face and bare arms. You feel the power of Ra flowing through you as his representative. This moment connects you to every pharaoh who came before you ruling. Below the palace, the city is beginning to wake from night's rest. You can hear distant sounds of people starting their daily work beginning. Vendors are setting up market stalls and animals are being led out. The Nile River runs through the city, reflecting the morning sun's light. Boats are already moving on the water, carrying goods and people travelling. The river is the lifeblood of Egypt, providing everything needed for survival. You return inside to the great hall where morning audiences will be held. Scribes are arranging scrolls and tablets on tables prepared for the day. Officials are gathering, wearing their finest linen and jewellery displayed proudly showing rank. You sit on the throne elevated above the hall on a platform raised. The throne is carved from ebony wood and covered with gold leaf shining. Cushions of embroidered linen make the seat more comfortable for long hours sitting. The crook and flail rest across your lap in the traditional pose always. Your expression is calm and serene as befits a living god among mortals. The crown sits heavy on your head, but you show no sign. The first official approaches and prostrates himself on the floor before you. He is the vizier who oversees the administration of the kingdom entire. He rises and begins his report of matters requiring your attention today. He speaks of tax collections from the southern provinces arriving as expected. The harvest has been good, and the granaries are filling with grain stored. The people are content, and there are no reports of unrest anywhere. You nod and gesture for him to continue with other matters needing. He mentions a dispute between two nobles over land boundaries claimed differently. You will need to hear both sides and render judgment as Pharaoh. The treasurer reports on the gold mines in Nubia producing well currently. New veins have been discovered and workers are being sent to extract. The gold will be used for temple decorations and royal jewellery crafted. The high priest requests permission to begin repairs on a temple damaged. Stones have shifted and roof beams need replacement before further damage occurs. You grant permission and allocate resources from the royal treasury available. A general reports on the borders being secure and peaceful at present. Garrisons are well supplied and troops are conducting regular patrols as ordered. There are no threats from neighbouring kingdoms at this time reported. The morning audience continues with various officials presenting matters for consideration and decision. You listen carefully to each one, giving your full attention focused completely. Your judgments are fair and based on the principle of truth. At midday the audience ends and you retire to a private chamber. Servants bring food and drink arranged on low tables, beautifully presented carefully. There is bread and roasted duck and figs and dates and beer. You eat slowly, savouring each bite of food prepared by palace cooks. The bread is still warm and the duck is tender and flavourful. The figs are sweet and the dates are sticky with natural sugar. After eating, you rest briefly on cushioned couches in the shade provided. The midday heat is intense, and even pharaohs must avoid its strength. You close your eyes and let your mind drift into light sleep. You wake refreshed and walk through the palace gardens planted with care. Trees provide shade and flowers bloom in carefully tended beds arranged. The scent of lotus flowers floats on the breeze, blowing gently cooling. A fountain plays in the centre of the garden, splashing water continuously. The sound is soothing, and birds gather to drink from the basin below. You sit on a stone bench and watch the water sparkling. Scribes approach with documents requiring your seal and signature given officially. You read each one carefully before marking it with the royal seal. The seal is pressed into wet clay, leaving your cartouche impression clearly. You dictate letters to be sent to governors in distant provinces ruling. The scribes write quickly on papyrus scrolls using reed pens and ink. Their handwriting is neat and practiced from years of training received thoroughly. One letter concerns irrigation projects to expand farmland available for cultivation increasing. Another discusses trade agreements with merchants from lands across the sea travelling. A third orders the construction of a new temple dedicated to Amun. The afternoon progresses with administrative work requiring attention and decisions made carefully. You review plans for building projects and approve designs for monuments proposed. Your architects explain technical details, and you ask questions, ensuring understanding complete. You inspect samples of stone brought from quarries for your approval chosen. Granite from Aswan, and limestone from Tura, and sandstone from Gebel el-Silsila. Each stone has qualities suited for different purposes in construction work needed. Artists present sketches for wall paintings to decorate your mortuary temple planned. The scenes will show your victories and your piety in your offerings. You suggest changes to compositions and they bow, accepting your wisdom given. The treasurer shows you jewellery being crafted for upcoming festivals celebrating gods. Necklaces and rings and bracelets of gold set with precious stones beautiful. You admire the craftsmanship and approve the designs for production continuing forward. As the afternoon wanes, you walk to the palace stables to visit horses. The animals are magnificent specimens bred for strength and speed combined perfectly. You stroke the neck of your favourite chariot horse, gently speaking softly. The horse nuzzles your hand, seeking treats you usually bring with you. Today you have dates which the horse eats from your palm carefully. The animal's breath is warm and its coat is sleek and well groomed. You decide to take a ride despite the late hour approaching evening. A chariot is prepared and the horses are harnessed by skilled grooms. You step into the chariot and take the reins in your hands. The horses respond to your commands and begin moving forward smoothly together. You guide them through the palace gates into the open desert beyond. The sun is lowering toward the horizon, painting everything gold and orange. The desert stretches endlessly in all directions under the vast sky above. The sand is warm beneath the chariot wheels, rolling steadily across surface firm. The air is clear and dry and you breathe it deeply. You drive the horses faster, feeling the wind against your face cooling. The speed is exhilarating and you feel free from the weight of kingship. Here you are, simply a person racing across sand under sky open. The horses run effortlessly, their hooves pounding a steady rhythm on ground. You guide them in wide circles, enjoying the movement and freedom felt. The palace grows distant behind you, shrinking in size with distance covered. Eventually you slow the horses and turn back toward the palace standing. The sun is touching the horizon now and the sky is brilliant. Colours shift from gold to orange to pink to purple, gradually changing. You return to the stables as the first stars appear overhead twinkling. Grooms take the horses and care for them after the run given. You walk back to the palace feeling satisfied and peaceful inside. You enter your private chambers where servants have prepared your bath waiting. The water is warm and scented with oils of lotus and myrrh. You remove your jewellery and clothing and step into the water. The warmth soaks into your muscles, relaxing them completely after the day. You lean back against the smooth stone of the tub's edge, resting. Servants wash your body with soft cloths and perfumed soaps gently. After bathing, you are dried with linen towels soft and absorbent. Fresh oils are massaged into your skin by trained hands working. The oils are frankincense and cedar mixed in precise proportions measured carefully. You dress in a simple linen robe for the evening meal coming. The fabric is light and comfortable against your clean skin touching. You wear no jewellery now, only the simple garb of relaxation chosen. The evening meal is served in a small dining room, private and intimate. The Queen joins you, and you eat together in comfortable silence mostly. The food is lighter than the midday meal with fruits and vegetables. There is fish from the Nile cooked with herbs and spices flavouring. Bread and cheese and olives accompany the fish served together on plates. Wine is poured into golden cups and you drink sparingly. After eating, you walk with the Queen through the palace, corridors lit. You discuss the day's events and plans for tomorrow coming soon ahead. She tells you of her own activities managing the palace household efficiently. She has supervised the weaving of new linens for the palace use. She has met with the chief cook to plan menus for upcoming feasts. She has visited the temple to make offerings to Hathor as priestess. You listen to her voice, finding comfort in its familiar tones heard. Her presence brings balance to your life as Pharaoh ruling alone otherwise. Together you are the divine couple representing Ma'at on earth living. You retire to a terrace overlooking the city spread below you resting. Oil lamps are lit throughout the streets creating patterns of light. The Nile reflects the moon that has risen full and bright. You can hear faint music from somewhere in the city playing distantly. The sound of a flute drifts on the night air carried upward. Someone is singing and the melody is haunting and beautiful to hear. The stars are countless above you, scattered across the black sky, endless. You recognize constellations learned from priests who study the heavens always. The gods live among those stars, watching over Egypt, protecting it. You think about your responsibilities as Pharaoh given by the gods themselves. You must maintain Ma'at keeping balance and order throughout the land. You must build temples and monuments that will last through eternity. You must ensure the Nile floods each year, bringing fertile soil needed. You must protect the borders from enemies who would harm Egypt. You must provide justice to your people, treating all fairly regardless. The weight of these responsibilities rests on your shoulders, always pressing. But you were born for this role and trained since childhood. Your father prepared you, and the gods have blessed you with wisdom. You're the son of Ra walking on earth in human form. You're the living Horus protecting Egypt as the hawk protects. When you die, you will become Osiris ruling the underworld eternally. But that day is distant and you have many years ahead ruling. There are temples to build and campaigns to lead if necessary. There are children to raise who will continue your dynasty forward. The Queen touches your hand, gently bringing you back to the present. She suggests retiring to bed as tomorrow will come early again. You agree and rise from your seat on the terrace standing. You walk together to the royal bedchamber prepared for night's rest. The bed is large and covered with fine linens, smooth and cool. Incense burns in a corner, filling the room with pleasant scent drifting. The Queen retires to her own chamber, as is customary for royalty. You lie down on the bed and servants arrange the sheets around you. The oil lamps are dimmed, leaving only faint light remaining barely. You close your eyes and let the day's events replay in your mind. Each decision made and each person seen passes before you, reviewing. You consider if you acted with Met in all things done today. You're satisfied that you have fulfilled your duties as Pharaoh properly. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and new decisions requiring wisdom and judgment. But tonight you rest knowing you have done well enough today. Sleep begins to come slowly, pulling you down into darkness welcoming. Your breathing becomes deeper and more regular as consciousness fades away. The palace is silent around you, with only guards awake keeping watch. Your mind drifts into dreams where you walk with the gods themselves. Ra speaks to you, giving guidance for the days ahead coming forward. Osiris shows you the afterlife that awaits all pharaohs who rule justly. The night passes peacefully without disturbance to your rest given fully. Your body recovers from the day's activities, preparing for tomorrow's demands again. The cycle will repeat as it has for countless pharaohs before you. Before dawn you will wake and begin the rituals once more repeating. The sun will rise and you will greet it as Ra's son. The duties of kingship will claim your attention throughout the day passing. But for now you sleep deeply and dreamlessly in perfect peace found. The palace protects you, and the gods watch over you, always guarding. Egypt sleeps under your rule, secure and prosperous, continuing forward into time. The stars wheel overhead, marking the passage of hours through night. The moon crosses the sky, casting silver light on the desert sand. The Nile flows eternally as it has since the beginning of creation. You are part of this eternal cycle as Pharaoh chosen by destiny. Your life is not your own, but belongs to Egypt and its people. This is the burden and the glory of being king of Upper and Lower Egypt ruling. You accepted this responsibility when you ascended the throne wearing the double crown. The white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt combined. Together they make you master of all the land between the deserts. Your word is law and your will is absolute within the kingdom's borders. But you rule with wisdom and compassion, as the gods command always. You are father to your people, protecting them as children in your care. The night deepens and your sleep becomes even more profound and restful. Your breathing is slow and steady like the rhythm of the Nile flowing. Your heart beats calmly, maintaining the life within your body resting peacefully. In the darkness, servants move quietly, checking that all is well throughout. They ensure the oil lamps do not go out, leaving you in darkness. They listen for any sound that might indicate you need assistance required. But you sleep undisturbed by anything in the world around you continuing. Your spirit wanders in the realm of dreams where anything is possible. You see visions of the future and the past mingling together. You see the pyramids rising stone by stone under your ancestors' rule. You see armies marching to defend Egypt's borders from invaders threatening harm. You see temples being built and festivals being celebrated with joy and music. You see yourself old and wise with many years of ruling accomplished. You see your children grown and ready to take the throne after you. You see your tomb prepared and waiting for the day you will need. These visions are neither frightening nor sad, but simply part of existence. Death comes to all living things, even pharaohs who are gods. But pharaohs do not truly die, but transform into something greater still. Your Ka will live forever in the afterlife, provided you are properly prepared. Your tomb is being built even now, deep in the desert rock. Your name will be remembered for thousands of years after your death. This knowledge brings peace to your sleeping mind, drifting through dreams still. You have no fear of death because you know it is only transformation. You will become one with the gods you have served faithfully. The night continues its slow progression toward dawn, approaching, inevitably coming soon. The stars begin to fade as the sky lightens imperceptibly at first. The darkness retreats before the coming light of Ra's boat rising. Soon you will wake and begin another day as Pharaoh of Egypt. The rituals will be performed and the duties will be fulfilled once more. The cycle continues without end as long as Egypt stands strong. But for these last moments of night you rest in complete peace. Your body is still and your mind is quiet, floating in dreams. The palace holds you safely in its stone embrace, protecting you always. The first light of dawn touches the eastern horizon beyond the palace. You begin to stir from sleep as if Ra himself calls you. Your eyes open slowly, adjusting to the dim light filtering through linen curtains. A servant enters quietly, carrying a fresh lamp burning brightly with new oil. The flame dances, casting moving shadows on the painted walls surrounding you. You sit up slowly and the linen sheets fall away from your chest. The morning air is cooler than yesterday and you feel it on your skin. You stand and stretch, feeling your muscles awaken from the night's rest. Your body is strong and healthy, befitting a pharaoh in his prime years. The washing ritual begins again with fresh water poured into the golden basin. You splash your face and neck and arms with the cool water, refreshing. The servant offers a cloth and you dry yourself with careful movements. Today's clothing is slightly different for the ceremonies planned ahead of you. A longer kilt of the finest linen pleated in hundreds of tiny folds. The white fabric is almost transparent in the morning light streaming through windows. A pectoral of gold and carnelian is placed over your chest, hanging heavily. The piece depicts the sun disk with wings spread, protecting you symbolically. Each feather is crafted individually by master goldsmiths working for months creating. Armlets of gold snake around your upper arms, fitting perfectly to your muscles. They're designed to look like serpents with precious stone eyes gleaming brightly. The craftsmanship is exquisite, showing the skill of Egyptian artisans working diligently. The blue crown of war is placed on your head today instead of the nemes. This crown represents your role as military commander, protecting Egypt's borders always. It is called the kepresh and is made of blue faience studded with gold. You take up the scepter in your right hand, feeling its weight. The staff is taller than you are and topped with a head of Set. This scepter represents power and dominion over all forces, natural and supernatural both. The Ankh symbol is placed in your left hand, representing life eternal given. As Pharaoh, you hold the key to life for all your subjects. You can grant life or take it away with a single word spoken. The servant leads you through different corridors than yesterday toward another destination chosen. These passages are decorated with scenes of battle and victory over Egypt's enemies. Your ancestors are shown trampling foreigners beneath their feet, triumphantly winning. You enter a large hall where military officers are assembled waiting for you. They stand in perfect rows, wearing their finest armor and weapons displayed. When you appear, they all bow low in unison, showing respect and loyalty. You walk to the raised platform where a throne has been placed temporarily. This throne is simpler than your main one, but still impressive and golden. You sit and survey the men gathered before you, standing at attention. The general of your armies approaches and bows deeply before speaking to you. He reports that training exercises have been completed successfully with all units. The soldiers are ready for any campaign you might order them to undertake. You nod approval and gesture for him to continue with other reports. He speaks of new recruits from the villages being trained in weapons. Young men come willingly to serve in Pharaoh's army, gaining honor and status. Chariots have been repaired and new ones built in the workshops dedicated. Wheels have been reinforced and axles strengthened to withstand desert terrain rough. Horses have been trained and are in excellent condition for warfare if needed. The armory is well stocked with weapons of bronze and copper forged. Swords and spears and daggers and axes are stored in abundance ready. Bows and arrows by the thousands are available for archers to use. You ask about the fortresses along the borders both north and south. The general reports they are well manned and supplied with provisions adequate. No enemy movements have been detected in any direction surrounding Egypt protecting it. You inquire about the Nubian provinces to the south under Egyptian control. The general says the local chiefs remain loyal and tribute arrives regularly. Gold and ivory and ebony are sent to Memphis, enriching the treasury. The eastern desert routes are being patrolled to prevent nomadic raiders from entering. These Bedouin tribes sometimes attack caravans travelling between Egypt and Sinai carrying goods. Your soldiers keep them away, protecting trade routes essential for commerce flowing. You stand and the officers snap to even more rigid attention, automatically responding. You speak words of praise for their service and dedication shown always. You remind them that they serve not just Pharaoh but the gods themselves. You tell them that Egypt's strength comes from Maat maintained through justice. A strong army protects Maat from chaos that constantly threatens from outside. They are the shield of Egypt standing between order and disorder battling. The officers respond with a unified shout of loyalty echoing through the hall. Their voices are strong and filled with conviction and pride in service. You feel satisfied that your army is ready for whatever may come ahead. The military inspection concludes and you return to the main palace areas. Scribes are waiting with scrolls containing reports from provincial governors writing regularly. You settle in your private office to read the documents brought to you. One scroll reports on the inundation of the Nile from the southern regions. The flood is proceeding normally and water levels are rising as expected seasonally. This is good news, ensuring crops will have water they need desperately. Another scroll discusses a dispute between two villages over water rights from a canal. The canal was built to irrigate fields, but both villages claim priority access. You make a note to send a judge to resolve the matter fairly. A third scroll contains a request from a temple for additional grain offerings. The temple serves many people and needs more resources to fulfill duties properly. You approve the request and instruct the treasurer to arrange delivery promptly. You read through dozens of scrolls covering every aspect of life in Egypt. Each matter requires your attention and decision as ultimate authority in the land. Some are trivial, but others have serious implications for people's lives and well-being. A scribe enters and prostrates himself before standing to deliver a message. Foreign ambassadors have arrived from a northern kingdom seeking audience with you. They bring gifts and wish to discuss trade agreements beneficial to both sides. You instruct that the ambassadors be given quarters and refreshment after their journey. Tomorrow you will receive them formally in the throne room with full ceremony. Today they must rest and prepare themselves for the audience granted graciously. The morning passes with administrative work that never seems to end completely ever. Scrolls are signed and sealed with your cartouche pressed into wax clearly. Letters are dictated to scribes who write with practiced efficiency and speed developed. At midday you take a break from the endless paperwork requiring attention always. You walk to a private garden reserved exclusively for the royal family alone. High walls ensure privacy from the outside world intruding on peaceful sanctuary. A pool of water reflects the sky above, bordered by papyrus plants growing. Lotus flowers float on the surface, opening their petals to the sun. Fish swim lazily beneath the surface, visible through the clear water looking down. You sit on a stone bench beneath the sycamore tree, providing shade welcome. The tree is ancient and its branches spread wide above your head covering. Birds nest in the branches and their songs fill the air with music. Servants bring a light meal of bread and cheese and grapes arranged beautifully. You eat slowly, enjoying the simple food and the peaceful surroundings calming. The garden is an oasis of calm in the busy palace full of people. The queen joins you, bringing her ladies-in-waiting, who sit at respectful distance. She sits beside you, and you talk quietly about matters personal and private. She tells you she's with child again, carrying your next heir. This news fills you with joy, and you take her hand, gently squeezing. A son would be ideal, but a daughter would also be welcomed and loved. Children are blessings from the gods, ensuring the dynasty continues forward into time. You discuss names for the child, depending on whether boy or girl born. If a son, he should be named after your father, continuing the tradition. If a daughter, she will be named after the goddess Isis, protector of children. The queen speaks of preparations being made for the birth months away. A special room is being prepared and decorated appropriately for royal birth occurring. Priests and priestesses will attend to ensure the gods' favour and protection given. Midwives, who are the most experienced in the land, are being summoned. They will bring their knowledge and skills to ensure safe delivery accomplished. Amulets and charms will be prepared to ward off evil spirits lurking dangerously. You assure her that all will be well and the gods will protect. She is young and healthy and has given birth successfully before previously. You will make offerings daily for her safety and the child's health assured. The afternoon heat becomes intense and you both retreat indoors seeking coolness. The palace walls are thick and keep the interior relatively comfortable inside. You rest together in your private chambers away from duty's calling. Later you must attend another audience, but for now you rest peacefully. The queen lies beside you, and you hold her hand, feeling connected. These quiet moments together are precious and rare in your busy lives. You think about the child growing inside her and what they will become. If a son, he will be trained from birth to rule Egypt eventually. If a daughter, she will be married to strengthen alliances with other powerful families. Your own childhood was filled with education and training for kingship ahead. Priests taught you to read and write the sacred hieroglyphs used officially. Warriors taught you to fight with weapons and drive chariots, skillfully maneuvering. You learned mathematics and geometry needed for building projects massive in scale. You studied astronomy to understand the movements of stars and planets overhead. You learned medicine and magic used by priests to heal and protect. Most importantly, you learned the religious rituals required of Pharaoh daily performed. You memorized prayers and offerings and ceremonies in the temples scattered throughout Egypt. You learned to be the bridge between gods and people, connecting both. Your father watched your progress and corrected you when you made mistakes naturally. He was stern but fair, teaching you the weight of responsibility carried. He died when you were still young, leaving you to rule earlier than expected. The transition was difficult, but your mother and advisors helped guide you wisely. You learned quickly and grew into your role as Pharaoh with confidence building. Now you are established and respected by all throughout the land ruling. The afternoon passes and the heat begins to lessen as sun descends. You rise and prepare for the evening audience scheduled with officials waiting. The queen kisses your cheek and retires to her own duties attending. You are dressed again in formal regalia appropriate for receiving petitioners coming. The double crown is placed on your head, representing your rule over all. The crook and flail are crossed over your chest in traditional pose held. You enter the throne room where people have gathered seeking your judgment. Some are nobles with disputes requiring royal intervention to resolve fairly. Others are common people who have travelled far to present petitions directly. You sit on the great throne of gold and precious stones gleaming brightly. The throne is on a raised platform with steps leading up to it. Guards stand at attention on either side, protecting you from any threat possible. The first petitioner is brought forward by the chamberlain, announcing his presence loudly. The man prostrates himself fully on the floor, showing proper respect and humility. He is allowed to rise and state his case before you, listening. He is a farmer whose fields were damaged by a neighbour's cattle wandering freely. The cattle broke through fences and ate crops ready for harvest being destroyed. He seeks compensation for his loss suffered through another's negligence shown clearly. You listen carefully to his complaint and ask questions to understand fully. You then hear from the neighbour who claims the fences were inadequate originally. The neighbour says he offered to help repair fences but was refused. You consider both sides and render judgment based on merit and fairness. The neighbour must pay compensation for the crops destroyed by his animals, but the farmer must also build stronger fences to prevent future problems. Both men bow, accepting your judgment as final and just given wisely. They leave and the next petitioner is brought forward to present their case. The afternoon continues with case after case requiring your attention and wisdom. A merchant claims he was cheated by another merchant in transaction completed. A wife seeks divorce from a husband who mistreats her without cause. A son disputes his father's will, claiming unfair distribution of property inherited. Each case requires careful listening and consideration before judgment is pronounced clearly. You must weigh evidence and testimony and determine what is truth and lies. Your decisions affect people's lives and must be made with care and thought. The work is exhausting but necessary as Pharaoh responsible for justice dispensed. You are the highest court in the land and your word is final. No one can appeal your decisions, which are law-binding on all. As the evening approaches, the audience is concluded for the day ending finally. You have heard dozens of cases and made dozens of judgments rendered fairly. Your mind is tired from the constant attention and focus required always. You retire to your private chambers where servants prepare your evening bath waiting. The water is warm and scented with oils, relaxing your tired muscles aching. You sink into the water and close your eyes, letting tension drain. After bathing, you dress in comfortable robes for the evening meal coming. Tonight there will be a small banquet for high officials and nobles. The banquet honours a successful harvest and gives thanks to the gods providing. The banquet hall is decorated with flowers and garlands hanging from columns. Oil lamps burn brightly, illuminating the space with warm golden light flickering. Tables are rearranged in a U-shape with your throne at the centre. Guests arrive dressed in their finest clothing and jewellery, worn proudly displaying. They bow as they enter and take their assigned places at tables. Musicians begin playing harps and flutes, creating pleasant background music flowing gently. You enter last, and everyone stands until you are seated on the throne. The high priest offers a prayer, thanking the gods for abundance and prosperity. Wine is poured, and you raise your cup in a toast to Egypt. The feast begins with servants bringing course after course of delicious food prepared. There is roasted goose and beef and fish and lamb cooked perfectly seasoned. Vegetables and fruits and breads and cakes are offered in abundance overflowing. You eat moderately, not wanting to overindulge despite the temptation presented before you. You converse with nobles seated near you, discussing matters of state informally. The atmosphere is relaxed and pleasant, with laughter and conversation filling the room. Dancers enter performing graceful movements, the music being played skillfully. They wear sheer linen and jewellery that jingles as they move rhythmically. Their bodies are painted with henna in decorative patterns covering skin shone. Acrobats follow, performing amazing feats of strength and balance displayed impressively. They form human pyramids and tumble and leap with precision and grace. The guests applaud and cheer their approval of the entertainment provided generously. A poet recites verses praising your reign and your accomplishments achieved already. He speaks of temples built and enemies defeated, and justice established firmly. The words are flowery and exaggerated, but pleasing to hear nonetheless spoken. The evening continues with more food and wine and entertainment provided endlessly flowing. You remain until protocol demands, observing customs and traditions required of Pharaoh always. Eventually you stand signalling the banquet's conclusion, approaching finally for tonight. The guests rise and bow as you exit the hall, returning to private quarters. You are tired but satisfied with the evening's success, celebrated together with subjects. These gatherings strengthen bonds between Pharaoh and nobles supporting your rule, maintaining. In your chamber you remove the heavy crown and jewellery weighing down heavily. You wash your face and hands and prepare for bed, welcoming rest coming. The servants arrange the bed and dim the lamps, leaving only faint light. You lie down and feel the day's exhaustion settle over your body completely. Your muscles relax and your mind begins to quiet from the constant activity. Sleep comes more quickly tonight after the long, demanding day experienced fully. Your dreams are vivid and filled with strange images mixing together, randomly appearing. You see the Nile flooding its banks and covering the land with water. You see crops growing tall and green under the sun shining brightly. You see yourself as a child learning to write hieroglyphs on a tablet. Your father stands over you, correcting your mistakes, patiently teaching you carefully. You feel the love and pride he had for you, his son. You see battles where you lead your army against enemies threatening Egypt. You ride in your chariot at the front of the charge, inspiring courage. Arrows fly and swords clash, but you remain unharmed, protected by gods. You see temples rising stone by stone under your orders given to builders. Craftsmen carve your name and titles into the walls for eternity to read. The temples will stand for thousands of years, proclaiming your glory and devotion. You see yourself old with white hair and lined face showing wisdom. You sit on the throne surrounded by your children and grandchildren gathered lovingly. They look at you with respect and love, honoring you as father. The dreams shift and change like sand blown by desert winds moving. You cannot hold on to any single image before it transforms into something else. But the overall feeling is peaceful and content with life lived fully. Morning comes again and you wake to begin another cycle of rituals. The sun rises and you greet it as you have done countless times. The duties of Pharaoh await your attention as they always do endlessly. You rise and the servants begin the process of preparing you for the day. The washing and dressing and adorning with symbols of power and divinity. You accept this routine as natural and necessary for your role played. Today you will visit the construction site of your mortuary temple being built. This temple will serve your cult after death, ensuring eternal life continued. It is being built on the west bank where the dead reside peacefully. The journey across the Nile is made in the royal barge covered with gold. Rowers pull the oars in perfect rhythm, moving the boat smoothly forward. The water is calm and reflects the morning sky above like a mirror. You stand at the prow watching the west bank approach, steadily growing closer. The cliffs rise beyond the green strip of farmland bordering the river's edge. Your temple will be built against those cliffs, carved partly into rock. The barge docks and you step onto the shore where officials await you. They bow low and then lead you to chariots prepared for the journey. The ride across the fields is smooth on the road built specifically. The construction site is busy with hundreds of workers labouring under the sun. Stone blocks are being moved on sledges pulled by teams of men. Scaffolding rises against the growing walls, reaching upward toward completion someday far. The chief architect approaches and bows before explaining the progress made recently. The foundation is complete and the first courses of stone are laid. The quality of work is excellent and construction is proceeding on schedule. You walk through the site examining the work being done, carefully observing. Stone masons are carving reliefs showing your victories and offerings to gods. The detail is exquisite, showing the skill of Egyptian craftsmen working diligently here. You enter the inner chambers that are being excavated from the living rock. The walls are being smoothed and prepared for paintings that will cover them. These paintings will depict your journey through the underworld after death, facing trials. The air inside is cool and damp and smells of stone dust hanging. Your footsteps echo in the empty chambers waiting to be finished and decorated. You imagine what it will look like when complete and ready for use. You ask the architect about the timeline for completion of the entire project. He estimates another 10 years at least before the temple is finished. This is acceptable as you plan to rule for many more years ahead. You inspect the mortuary chapel, where offerings will be made daily after death. The altar is being carved from a single block of alabaster imported expensively. The stone is translucent and will glow when lamps are lit behind. Storerooms are being built to hold the offerings and supplies needed endlessly. These rooms will be filled with food and wine and incense for the rituals. Priests will serve your car forever, ensuring your afterlife is comfortable, sustained. You are satisfied with the progress and praise the architect and workers present. You promise additional resources to speed the work if needed for completion. The workers bow grateful for your attention and generosity shown to them. The visit concludes and you return to the barge for the journey back. The sun is higher now and the heat is building across the land. The west bank recedes behind you as the rowers pull toward the east. Back at the palace, you change from the formal clothing worn this morning. A lighter kilt and simple jewellery are more comfortable for the afternoon ahead. You've scheduled a meeting with priests to discuss religious matters important. The priests arrive and are shown to a private chamber for the discussion. They are the high priests of the major temples throughout Egypt serving. They come quarterly to report and receive instructions from Pharaoh, their lord. You listen to their reports about the temple's operations and needs expressed. Offerings from the people continue to be generous, supporting the gods' cults. New priests are being trained to replace those who have died or retired. One priest requests permission to expand his temple to accommodate more worshippers. The temple has become too small for the crowds that come to worship. You approve the expansion and grant land and resources needed for building. Another priest reports on festivals being planned for the coming months ahead. The Opet festival will require your participation in processions and ceremonies lengthy. Preparations are underway and everything will be ready when the time comes. The priests asked for your guidance on interpreting certain omens observed recently. A comet was seen in the sky and birds behaved strangely during rituals. You consult your own knowledge and assure them the signs are favourable. You discuss theological matters and interpretations of ancient texts with them debating. These conversations are intellectually stimulating and you enjoy the exchange of ideas. The priests are learned men who challenge your thinking respectfully, always maintaining proper deference. The afternoon passes quickly in these deep discussions about the divine nature. You're not just Pharaoh, but also high priest of all cults combined. Your religious knowledge must be extensive and your understanding deep and profound. When the meeting concludes, you feel mentally tired but satisfied with the discourse. The priests bow and depart, carrying your instructions back to their temples. They will implement your decisions and report back next quarter as required. You walk through the palace gardens as the day begins to cool. The sun is lowering and shadows are lengthening across the paths, walking peacefully. You find peace in these moments of solitude between endless duties demanding. You think about the temple being built for your afterlife and eternity. You wonder what it will be like to die and enter the underworld. Will you pass the weighing of the heart and be justified as righteous ruler? You've tried to rule with Ma'ent, always considering justice and truth. You've built temples and made offerings and performed rituals faithfully without fail. You believe the gods will find you worthy of eternal life granted. But doubt sometimes creeps in despite your faith and devotion maintained strongly. Are you truly worthy or just a mortal playing at being divine? These thoughts trouble you, but you push them away, firmly rejecting them. You are Pharaoh, chosen by the gods to rule Egypt, protecting it. You are the son of Ra and the living Horus on earth. When you die, you will become Osiris and rule the dead eternally. This is your destiny and your fate ordained before your birth occurring. You accept it and embrace it and will fulfill it to the end. Egypt depends on you, and you will not fail your sacred duty. The evening meal is quiet with just your immediate family present tonight. Your children join you and chatter happily about their day's activities done. You listen and smile, enjoying their innocence and joy shown openly without reservation. Your eldest son is being tutored in all the subjects you learned yourself. He is bright and eager to learn, showing promise as a future ruler. You feel pride watching him grow and develop into a fine young man. Your daughter is learning music and dance as appropriate for royal women. She plays the harp beautifully, and her voice is sweet when singing. She will make a good match for an important noble or foreign prince. After dinner, you spend time with your children playing games and telling stories. These moments are precious and you treasure them deeply in your heart. Being Pharaoh is important, but being a father is equally meaningful to you. Eventually, the children are taken to bed by their nurses, leaving you alone. You sit in your chamber, reflecting on the day that has passed by. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and new responsibilities to fulfill, as always continuing. You prepare for bed with the help of servants attending you nightly. The routine is comforting in its familiarity and predictability established over years. You lie down and close your eyes, welcoming sleep approaching slowly but surely. Your last thoughts before sleep are prayers to the gods, thanking them. You thank Ra for another day of life granted to you generously. You thank the gods for your family and your health and your kingdom. Sleep claims you, and you drift into dreams, once more entering the realm. The night passes peacefully, and Egypt sleeps under your protection given faithfully. Tomorrow the cycle will begin again as it always does, continuing forward forever. The morning arrives with the familiar sounds of the palace awakening around you. You open your eyes to see the first rays of sunlight filtering through the high windows. The painted ceiling above shows the goddess Nut arching over you protectively, always watching. You rise without waiting for servants, feeling unusually energized and awake this morning. The stone floor is warm already from the sun, heating it through the night. You walk to the window and look out over the city spreading below. The Nile gleams in the distance, reflecting golden light from Ra's rising boat. Market stalls are being set up and people move through the streets purposefully. Life continues as it has for thousands of years in this ancient land. Today is special because foreign ambassadors will be received formally in court. These men have travelled far from northern kingdoms across the sea distant. They bring gifts and seek to establish trade agreements beneficial to both lands. You must present yourself as the most powerful ruler on earth, commanding respect. Every detail of your appearance and bearing must reinforce your divine authority shown. The ceremony will be elaborate and carefully choreographed to impress the foreigners completely. The servants arrive and begin the lengthy process of preparing you for the audience. You are washed with water, scented with lotus and myrrh mixing together pleasantly. Your skin is oiled until it gleams in the lamplight shining on it. The finest royal kilt is brought made of linen so fine it is nearly transparent. Gold thread is woven through the fabric, creating patterns that shimmer when moving. The pleats are precise and perfect, falling to just below your knees ending. The broad collar placed around your neck is magnificent beyond description here trying. Rows of gold beads alternate with lapis lazuli and turquoise and carnelian stones. The piece weighs heavily on your shoulders, but you show no discomfort felt. Bracelets and armlets of gold encircle your wrists and upper arms, tightly fitting. Each piece is engraved with your cartouche, and protective symbols carved carefully detailed. Rings adorn several fingers, including the royal signet ring bearing your seal pressed. The double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt is placed upon your head ceremonially. The white crown fits inside the red crown, combining them into one symbol. This is the most sacred regalia of Pharaoh, representing unified Egypt under one ruler. A false beard of plated gold is attached to your chin with straps carefully. This beard marks you as a god among mortals walking on earth below. Even though you are clean-shaven, the beard is required for formal occasions. The crook and flail are crossed over your chest, held in position by your arms. These symbols represent your role as shepherd of the people, guiding them wisely. You stand motionless while the final adjustments are made to your appearance shown. You examine yourself in a polished bronze mirror held by a servant standing. The reflection shows a figure of gold and jewels and divine power radiating. You look every bit the god-king that you are meant to be. The procession to the throne room begins with priests and officials leading the way. Incense bearers walk ahead, swinging bronze censers, releasing fragrant smoke rising upward. The smoke purifies the air and honors the gods watching over our proceedings today. Musicians play sistrum and drums, creating a rhythmic sound announcing your approach coming. The halls are lined with courtiers who bow low as you pass by. No one may look directly at your face when you wear the double crown. You enter the great throne room and ascend the steps to the throne slowly. Each step is measured and deliberate, showing your control and authority maintained perfectly. You turn and sit on the throne with your back straight and head high. The crook and flail remain crossed on your chest, and your expression is serene. You look out over the assembled court without focusing on any individual present. You are above them all, existing on a different plane from mere mortals. The foreign ambassadors are announced and led into the throne room by the chamberlain. They are dressed in strange clothing, unlike Egyptian fashion worn by your subjects. Their faces show nervousness mixed with curiosity at the spectacle witnessed before them. They approach the throne, and their interpreter instructs them to prostrate themselves fully. They lie face down on the floor as required by protocol established firmly. You allow them to remain there for a long moment before gesturing permission. They rise and stand with heads bowed, waiting for you to acknowledge them. The interpreter steps forward and addresses you in Egyptian learned specifically for this purpose. He asks permission to present the ambassadors and their gifts brought with them. You incline your head slightly, granting permission for the presentation to proceed forward. The ambassadors come forward one by one and bow deeply before you. Each ambassador places gifts at the base of the throne as offerings presented. The gifts include silver vessels and fine fabrics and precious stones from their lands. There are weapons decorated with gold and intricate designs showing skilled craftsmanship displayed. There are jars of wine and oil and perfumes from distant groves growing. You accept the gifts with a slight nod, showing they are adequate tributes. In truth, they are magnificent, but you must not show too much interest. You are Pharaoh and possess wealth beyond imagination already accumulated over generations ruling. The chief ambassador speaks through the interpreter explaining their purpose for coming here. Their king wishes to establish trade routes with Egypt, exchanging goods mutually beneficial. They seek permission to send merchant ships to Egyptian ports regularly visiting. They offer to pay tribute annually in exchange for trading rights granted officially. They also seek a treaty of friendship ensuring peace between the kingdoms maintained. Their king desires Egyptian grain to feed his people during poor harvests occurring. You consider their request in silence, letting them wait for your response anxiously. The entire throne room is quiet, with everyone watching to see your decision. You understand that this treaty could bring wealth to Egypt while securing peace. You speak and your voice carries through the hall, though you speak quietly. You agree to the trade agreement with conditions that must be met exactly. Egyptian merchants must be allowed to trade in their kingdom equally and fairly. The tribute must be paid each year without fail, or the treaty is void. Any disputes will be resolved by neutral judges acceptable to both sides agreeing. The treaty will be written and sealed with your royal seal, making it binding. The ambassadors bow repeatedly, showing their gratitude and relief at your acceptance granted. The interpreter assures you that all conditions will be met faithfully and promptly. Their king will be overjoyed at this agreement made between great nations. You gesture and scribes come forward with papyrus scrolls already prepared in advance. The treaty terms are read aloud in both languages, ensuring clarity and understanding. The ambassadors agree to everything and make their marks on the document signing. You press your seal into the wax, creating the royal cartouche impression firmly. The treaty is now official and binding under the laws of gods and men. Copies will be made and sent to both kingdoms for keeping safe always. The ambassadors are dismissed and they back away, bowing repeatedly, showing continued respect. They will be entertained as honoured guests before their journey home begins soon. The audience has been successful and Egypt's interests have been served well. You remain on the throne for additional petitioners who have been waiting patiently. These are your own subjects with various requests and grievances to present. You listen to each one, giving your attention despite the earlier ceremony's demands. A priest requests funding for renovating a temple damaged by time and weather. A governor reports on successful irrigation projects completed in his province serving farmers. A merchant seeks permission to establish a new trading post near the border. Each matter is considered and decided upon according to ma'at and practical considerations. You balance the needs of temples and infrastructure and commerce, all competing for resources. Your judgments reflect wisdom gained from years of ruling and learning daily. The morning audience finally concludes and you rise from the throne, stretching slightly. Your body is stiff from sitting motionless for so many hours, passing slowly. You descend from the platform and exit through the private door leading away. In your chambers you remove the heavy double crown and formal regalia worn. Your head aches slightly from the weight pressing down on it all morning. Servants massage your scalp and neck, easing the tension built up there. You change into simpler clothing more comfortable for the afternoon's activities planned ahead. Today you will inspect the granaries where the harvest is being stored carefully. This is crucial work ensuring Egypt has food reserves for lean years coming. The granaries are large mud brick buildings on the outskirts of the city proper. They are built on high ground to protect grain from the Nile's flooding. Hundreds of storage chambers hold grain from fields throughout the kingdom, contributing shares. You arrive with your steward, who oversees the granaries and all storage facilities. He explains the system of recording grain amounts coming in and going out. Scribes keep meticulous records on papyrus scrolls stored safely in archives maintained. You enter one of the granaries and the smell of wheat fills your nostrils strongly. The grain is piled high, reaching nearly to the ceiling beams supporting the roof. Workers are shoveling grain into baskets for measurement and recording done systematically. The steward shows you the tallies indicating this year's harvest is excellent and plentiful. The Nile's flood was perfect, providing just the right amount of water needed. The farmers worked hard and the gods blessed their efforts with abundance given. You ask about reserves from previous years and how much remains stored safely. The steward reports that 3 years' worth of grain is in storage currently. This ensures that even if the next flood fails, Egypt will not starve. You praise the steward for his efficient management and careful record-keeping maintained. You order that grain be distributed to temples for offerings to gods made. Additional grain should be sold to foreign kingdoms needing it desperately wanting supplies. You inspect the security measures protecting the granaries from theft and damage caused. Guards patrol regularly and the buildings are locked at night, preventing unauthorized entry. Fire is the greatest danger, and precautions are taken to prevent it occurring. You are satisfied that the granaries are well managed and Egypt is secure. Food security is the foundation of civilization and prosperity for all living here. Without grain, there would be chaos and suffering spreading throughout the land. You return to the palace as the afternoon heat reaches its peak intensity. You rest briefly in your chambers with cooling fans operated by servants standing. The fans are large palm fronds waved continuously, creating a gentle breeze flowing. You sip water mixed with fruit juice brought in golden cups carried carefully. The liquid refreshes you and restores energy depleted by the morning's exertions done. You close your eyes and let your mind wander freely without direction chosen. You think about the treaty signed this morning with the foreign kingdom established. This opens new opportunities for trade and cultural exchange between peoples different yet alike. Egypt's influence will spread further, bringing benefits to your subjects, enjoying prosperity increased. You consider the granaries full of wheat, ensuring no one will hunger here. This is one of your greatest responsibilities as Pharaoh, providing for your people's needs. A ruler who lets his people starve is no ruler at all, but a failure. You reflect on your children growing and learning to take their places someday. Your son will rule after you, continuing the dynasty forward into future generations. Your daughter will make alliances through marriage, strengthening Egypt's position among kingdoms surrounding. The weight of these responsibilities sometimes feels overwhelming to carry alone constantly. But you were born for this purpose and trained from childhood, preparing always. The gods chose your family to rule, and you will not disappoint them. A servant announces that the queen wishes to see you if convenient now. You rise immediately and go to her chambers where she waits sitting. She looks radiant despite the pregnancy beginning to show clearly visible now seeing. She shares news that the midwives have confirmed the baby is healthy and strong. They predict a boy based on how she carries the child low in her belly. This pleases you greatly, though you would love a daughter equally well. You spend time with her discussing names and plans for the child's future ahead. If a boy, he will be raised to rule, learning everything necessary for kingship. If a girl, she will be educated in arts and music and management of household duties. The queen expresses some worry about the birth and the dangers it brings always. You comfort her, reminding her that the gods will protect her and the baby. You promise to make offerings daily until the child is born safely delivered. You hold her hand and feel the life growing within her moving slightly. This miracle of creation fills you with awe and gratitude to the gods. Children are blessings, and this child will be treasured and loved completely always. You leave her to rest as the midwives recommend for her health maintained. You return to your duties with renewed energy and purpose driving you forward. Everything you do is for Egypt and for your family, ensuring their future secured. The evening brings a meeting with your council of advisors discussing state matters. These men are the most experienced officials in the kingdom, serving loyally. They provide counsel and information, helping you make informed decisions wisely chosen. The vizier presents a proposal for expanding irrigation canals into new areas currently. This would bring more land under cultivation, increasing food production significantly over time. The project would require significant resources and labor coordinated carefully over years. You discuss the feasibility and potential benefits of such an undertaking, considered thoroughly. The advisors debate different approaches and potential problems that might arise during work. You listen carefully, weighing all perspectives presented before making your decision final. You approve the project but insist on careful planning before work begins next season. Surveyors must map the land and engineers must design the canals properly functioning. Workers must be recruited and supplied, ensuring the project succeeds without excessive cost. The treasurer reports on tax collections from throughout the kingdom coming in regularly. Revenue is good this year due to the excellent harvest reaped successfully. The treasury is healthy and can fund the irrigation project without difficulty encountered. The high priest raises concerns about maintaining temple rituals during construction work nearby. Some canals will pass near sacred sites and precautions must be taken protecting them. You agree that priests must be consulted and offerings made before work begins. The general reports that border garrisons are requesting additional supplies before winter arrives. The northern border especially needs warmer clothing and extra rations for soldiers stationed. You authorize the supplies to be sent immediately without delay occurring. The council meeting continues late into the evening with many matters discussed thoroughly. Your advisors are valuable assets, providing knowledge and experience you rely upon daily. Together you govern Egypt, ensuring its continued prosperity and strength maintained over generations. When the meeting concludes, you are exhausted mentally from the discussions held extensively. You retire to your private chambers where a light meal waits for you. You eat alone, preferring solitude after hours of talking and listening done constantly. After eating, you walk onto the terrace overlooking the city below, spreading outward. The night is clear and stars fill the sky in countless numbers gleaming. The air is cooler now, and you breathe deeply, enjoying the freshness flowing. You think about the day's accomplishments and the decisions made affecting many lives. The treaty will bring prosperity through trade, increasing over years to come forward. The irrigation project will feed more people, ensuring Egypt's growth continues expanding outward. The granaries are full, protecting against famine that has destroyed other kingdoms before. Your family is healthy and your heir is growing within the queen's womb. The army is strong and the borders are secure from enemies threatening harm. You have reason to be satisfied with your rule thus far accomplished successfully. But you know that complacency is dangerous and threatens all rulers becoming careless. You must remain vigilant and active, addressing problems before they become crises overwhelming. You return inside and prepare for bed with the servants' help attending nightly. The routine is familiar and comforting, ending each day with consistency maintained always. You lie down and feel the exhaustion of the day settling over you. Sleep comes quickly tonight after the long, demanding day experienced fully today. Your dreams are peaceful, showing scenes of Egypt prosperous and strong, continuing forever. You see fields green with crops and children playing happily without fear present. You see temples rising to honor the gods who protect Egypt from harm. You see your children grown and ruling wisely after you have gone ahead. You see your name remembered for thousands of years, carved in stone, eternally preserved. The night passes peacefully without disturbance to your rest given fully and completely. The palace is quiet with only guards awake, keeping watch over all who sleep. Egypt rests secure under your protection, provided faithfully and constantly given to all. Morning comes again, bringing a new day of challenges and opportunities ahead waiting. You wake refreshed and ready to fulfill your duties as Pharaoh once more. The cycle continues as it has for countless generations before you ruling here. Today you will visit the Temple of Amun to make special offerings planned carefully. This temple is the most important in all of Egypt, holding great wealth. The god Amun is the king of gods and your special patron protecting you. You are dressed in ceremonial robes appropriate for temple visits requiring purity shown. White linen symbolizes purity and cleanliness before the gods appearing in their presence. Gold jewelry marks your royal status, but is less elaborate than usual worn. The procession to the temple is led by priests carrying incense and sacred standards. Musicians play while singers chant hymns praising Amun's power and glory described beautifully. The streets are lined with people who have come to see you passing by. The people bow low as you pass, showing their reverence and respect given. Some reach out, hoping to touch the royal litter, carrying you through the crowds. They believe that touching you brings blessings from the gods you represent here. The Temple of Amun is massive with pylons rising high above the ground. The entrance is flanked by colossal statues of you, seated on thrones powerfully shown. Obelisks reach toward the sky, their tips covered in gold, gleaming brightly shining. You dismount from the litter and walk through the great gateway entering the sacred space. The courtyard is vast and filled with columns supporting nothing but sky above. The columns are carved and painted with scenes of you making offerings shown repeatedly. You proceed through the hyper-style hall where columns rise like a stone forest surrounding. The light is dim and filtered, creating an atmosphere of mystery and reverence. Your footsteps echo on the stone floor as you walk toward the sanctuary ahead. Only you and the high priest may enter the sanctuary where the god resides. The door is opened and you step into the darkened chamber lit by oil lamps. The statue of Amun stands in a shrine of gold and precious stones adorning it. You perform the rituals as you have been taught from childhood, learning carefully. You speak the prayers and make the offerings of food and drink and incense. You ask for the gods' continued protection and guidance in ruling Egypt justly. The high priest assists you in the rituals, ensuring everything is done correctly, precisely. The ceremony takes over an hour to complete with all the proper procedures followed. When finished, you back away from the shrine, bowing respectfully to the god. You exit the sanctuary and proceed to other parts of the temple complex, spreading widely. You inspect the treasury where offerings from the people are stored safely kept. Gold and silver and precious stones fill chests stacked high against walls securely. You review the accounts kept by temple scribes, recording everything meticulously written down. The temple owns vast estates and receives income from farms and workshops operating continuously. This wealth supports the priests and maintains the temple and makes offerings daily. You authorize additional funding for repairs needed on some buildings showing age. The temple must be kept in perfect condition, honoring the god properly serving him. You also approve funding for a new chapel to be built adjacent to existing structures. The visit to the temple concludes with a blessing given by the high priest. He places his hand on your head and speaks words of power invoking divine protection. You feel the weight of his words and the god's presence surrounding you completely. You return to the palace as the sun reaches its highest point overhead, burning. The heat is intense and you retreat to the coolness of your chambers inside. You rest during the hottest part of the day as everyone does wisely. Later in the afternoon, you meet with architects to discuss building projects ongoing currently. Your pyramid tomb is being constructed in the desert west of the Nile. This monument will ensure your name lives forever after death, claiming you eventually. The architects show you drawings and models of the pyramid's final form intended. It will be cased in white limestone, making it shine like a beacon visible. The capstone will be covered in gold, reflecting Ra's light back to heaven. Inside the pyramid, chambers are being carved from solid rock, painstakingly worked slowly. These chambers will hold your sarcophagus and the treasures buried with you needed. The walls will be inscribed with spells to help you in the afterlife journey. You inspect the progress reports showing how much work has been completed already. Thousands of workers labor on the pyramid every day, moving stone blocks heavy. The project will take many more years to finish, but it progresses steadily forward. You discuss modifications you want made to the interior layout designed originally planned. You want a larger burial chamber and additional storage rooms for offerings brought. The architects assure you these changes can be made without structural problems caused. You are satisfied with the progress and authorize continued funding for the work. This pyramid will be your eternal home after leaving this earthly existence behind. It must be perfect in every detail, ensuring your comfort for eternity lasting. The evening approaches and you prepare for a quiet night without ceremonies required. You dine with your family, enjoying their company and conversation shared freely together. These moments of normalcy are precious in your life of constant duty performed. Your son asks questions about ruling and the decisions you make each day. You answer honestly, trying to teach him the complexities of kingship requiring wisdom. He listens intently and you see his mind working to understand the lessons. Your daughter plays her harp after dinner, entertaining the family with music lovely. Her fingers move gracefully across the strings, creating melodies that soothe the soul. You close your eyes and let the music wash over you, bringing peace. Later you sit with the Queen, discussing the day's events and tomorrow's schedule planned. She tells you about the palace household and issues that have arisen needing attention. You listen and provide guidance on matters within her domain, managing efficiently. You retire to bed feeling content with another day completed, successfully accomplished today. The work of Pharaoh is never finished, but each day brings small victories won. You have moved Egypt forward another step toward greatness achieved through effort constant. Sleep comes easily tonight and you drift into dreams of the future awaiting. You see Egypt prosperous and powerful, respected by all nations surrounding it here. You see your descendants ruling for generations, continuing your dynasty forward into time. The gods smile upon you and Egypt under your rule, protecting it always. This is your purpose and your destiny fulfilled with every breath taken daily. You are Pharaoh, and Egypt is yours to guide and protect, eternal serving the gods. The morning sun rises over the Nile, painting the water with gold. You wake feeling the familiar weight of responsibility settling on your chest. Today marks the beginning of the Opet festival, celebrating Amun's power and glory. This festival is the most important religious celebration of the year occurring. It lasts for many days with processions and offerings and rituals performed. Your presence is required throughout the entire festival as High Priest and Pharaoh. You rise and begin the purification rituals required before participating in ceremonies. You bathe in water mixed with natron salt, purifying your body completely. Priests chant prayers while you wash, removing any impurity that might offend gods. You are dressed in the most elaborate ceremonial robes reserved for festivals only. The linen is woven with gold thread, creating patterns that shimmer brilliantly shining. The fabric is so fine it is nearly weightless, despite its richness shown. The crown of Upper and Lower Egypt is placed carefully on your head. Additional jewelry is added, including a pectoral showing Amun blessing you with life. Every element of your appearance reinforces your divine status among the people watching. The procession begins at the Temple of Amun in the early morning light. The sacred bark of Amun is brought out carried on poles by priests. The bark is a model boat made of cedar wood covered with gold. Inside the bark is the statue of Amun hidden behind curtains from view. Only you and the high priest have seen the god's face directly looking. The people believe the god himself travels in the bark to visit his southern temple. You walk at the front of the procession, leading the way forward slowly. Priests follow, carrying offerings and sacred objects needed for the ceremonies ahead. Musicians play and singers chant hymns praising Amun's greatness and power shown. The streets are packed with people who have come from throughout Egypt. They throw flowers and wave palm branches as you pass by them. Their faces show joy and devotion to both the god and to you. The procession moves slowly, allowing everyone to see and participate in the celebration. The journey to the southern temple takes most of the day with stops. At each stop you perform small rituals and accept offerings from the people. Children run alongside the procession, laughing and playing in the festive atmosphere created. Women ululate, making the high-pitched sound that marks joyous occasions always present. Men bow low as the bark passes, showing their respect and reverence. The heat is intense under the midday sun, beating down on everyone. You feel sweat running down your back beneath the heavy robes worn. But you show no discomfort, maintaining your divine composure throughout the journey made. Finally you reach the southern temple as the sun begins its descent. The bark is carried inside to the sanctuary where it will rest overnight. You perform the evening rituals, feeding and clothing the god as required by tradition. The people camp outside the temple walls, waiting for tomorrow's ceremonies to continue. Fires are lit and food is shared, creating a festival atmosphere everywhere seen. Music and dancing continue late into the night, celebrating with joy and abandon. You retire to chambers prepared for you within the temple complex, resting finally. You remove the heavy regalia and wash away the sweat and dust accumulated. Servants bring simple food and you eat gratefully, restoring your strength needed. You cannot sleep immediately despite your exhaustion from the long day past. The sounds of celebration outside filter through the walls to your ears. You lie awake thinking about the festival's significance for your people gathered here. This festival renews the bond between you and Amun, your patron god. It demonstrates to the people that you are blessed and chosen by divinity. It reinforces the cosmic order that you represent and maintain on Earth. Tomorrow you will perform the most important ritual of the entire festival. You will enter the sanctuary alone to commune directly with the wall. This moment is private and sacred, known only to you and Amun. Eventually sleep claims you, and you rest deeply without dreams disturbing you tonight. The night passes peacefully despite the celebrations continuing outside the temple walls. You wake before dawn feeling refreshed and ready for the day ahead. The morning rituals begin with purification even more elaborate than yesterday's, performed carefully. You must be absolutely clean before entering the god's presence directly facing him. Every detail must be perfect or risk offending the divine power present. You enter the sanctuary as the sun rises, illuminating the chamber with light. The bark sits in the center, and you approach it with measured steps. You open the curtains, revealing the statue of Amun seated on his throne. The statue is made of gold and precious stones worked by master craftsmen. The god's eyes seem to look directly into your soul, seeing everything within. You bow low, prostrating yourself before the divine presence felt strongly here. You speak prayers learned in childhood, requesting guidance and wisdom for ruling. You ask for the god's continued protection of Egypt from all threats. You offer your devotion and service, pledging to honor the god always faithfully. You wait in silence, feeling the god's presence surrounding you completely here now. A sense of peace fills you, replacing the doubts that sometimes trouble you. You know that you are doing what the gods require of you. You perform the ritual of feeding and clothing the statue as tradition demands. Fresh linen is wrapped around the god and offerings are placed before him. Incense fills the chamber with fragrant smoke rising upward toward the ceiling high. The ritual is complete and you back away from the shrine, respectfully done. You close the curtains, hiding the god once more from mortal eyes seeing. You exit the sanctuary feeling renewed in purpose and commitment to your duties. The day continues with more processions and ceremonies throughout the temple complex spreading. You sit on a throne receiving offerings from nobles and commoners alike, bringing gifts. Each person bows and presents their offering with words of blessing spoken clearly. The offerings are vast, including food and drink and animals for sacrifice performed. Gold and silver and precious stones are given to the temple treasury. Bolts of fine linen and jars of oil and perfume are presented too. You accept each offering with a nod, acknowledging the giver's devotion shown. The priests record everything, ensuring proper accounting maintained, always carefully done. The wealth of the temple grows with each festival, celebrating the gods repeatedly. In the afternoon there is a great feast prepared for the nobles. Tables are laden with every kind of food imaginable spread out before guests. Roasted meats and fish and fowl and vegetables and fruits fill the platters. Wine flows freely and everyone eats and drinks, celebrating the festival joyously together. You sit at the high table observing the festivities around you continuing. The atmosphere is relaxed and happy as people enjoy the abundance provided. Entertainers perform for the assembled guests, showing their skills and talents displayed. Dancers move gracefully to the music played by skilled musicians accompanying them. Acrobats perform amazing feats that draw gasps and applause from the crowd watching. A poet recites verses praising Amun and your reign as Pharaoh ruling wisely. The words are flattering, perhaps excessively so, but pleasing to hear nonetheless spoken. The guests applaud enthusiastically, showing their approval of the performance given here. As evening falls, you participate in more rituals marking the day's transition. Lamps are lit throughout the temple, creating a magical atmosphere of light. The bark is prepared for the return journey tomorrow back to the main temple. You sleep again in the temple chambers as the festival continues outside. The people celebrate through the night with dancing and singing and feasting ongoing. Their joy brings you satisfaction knowing they are happy and content currently living. The return procession the next day is even more elaborate than the arrival. The people line the streets again, eager to see the god's bark passing. You walk at the front, maintaining your divine bearing throughout the journey. Made. The bark is returned to the main temple and placed in the sanctuary. Final rituals are performed, concluding the festival, officially ending it properly done. You emerge from the temple to the cheers of the people gathered outside. You raise your arms in blessing, and the people bow in response shown. The Opet festival is complete for another year, passing by now gone. The cosmic order has been renewed, and Egypt is secure under the god's protection. You return to the palace exhausted but satisfied with the festival's success achieved. The people have seen your piety and devotion to the gods demonstrated publicly. Your legitimacy as Pharaoh has been reinforced in their minds and hearts. The days following the festival are quieter, allowing you to rest and recover. You spend time with your family, enjoying their company without constant duties demanding. The Queen's pregnancy is advancing and she grows larger each day passing forward. Your son has matured during the festival, observing the rituals performed carefully, watching. He asks many questions about the meaning of what he witnessed occurring. You answer patiently, teaching him the religious foundations of kingship required for ruling. You explain that Pharaoh is the intermediary between gods and people, connecting both. Without Pharaoh performing the rituals, the cosmic order would collapse into chaos. The Nile would not flood and crops would fail and enemies would invade. Your son listens intently, understanding the weight of responsibility he will inherit. He is serious beyond his years, showing the maturity needed for kingship. You feel confident that he will rule well when his time comes eventually. Your daughter is practicing her music, preparing for her wedding someday coming ahead. A suitable match is being negotiated with a powerful noble family allied. The marriage will strengthen your position and create important political bonds formed. You think about your own childhood and the education you received preparing you. Your father was strict but loving, teaching you everything needed for success. You try to be the same for your children, guiding them wisely. The weeks pass and the routine of governing continues without interruption occurring. Audiences are held and judgments are rendered and decisions are made daily. The administration of Egypt requires constant attention to countless details always present. News arrives from the southern border about unrest among some Nubian tribes. The tribes are refusing to pay tribute, claiming the amounts are excessive. Your generals recommend a military expedition to enforce your authority there firmly. You consider the situation carefully, weighing the costs and benefits of action. Military campaigns are expensive and risk lives of soldiers serving you loyally. But allowing defiance to go unpunished encourages others to rebel, similarly acting. You decide to send a force to demonstrate your power and resolve shown. The expedition will be large enough to intimidate but not destroy the tribes. You want submission, not annihilation of people who are ultimately your subjects. You meet with your generals to plan the campaign in detail, discussing strategy. The army will march south, following the Nile to the border region disputed. The show of force should be sufficient to bring the tribes back into line. You decide to accompany the army yourself, leading from the front, personally going. This will demonstrate your commitment and courage to both soldiers and enemies. The people will see that Pharaoh is not afraid to fight for Egypt. The queen is concerned about you leaving, especially with the baby coming soon. But she understands that duty requires your presence with the army going. You promise to return quickly once the matter is resolved, successfully accomplished. Preparations begin immediately for the military expedition, departing soon ahead, now organized. Supplies are gathered and weapons are distributed, and soldiers are assembled and drilled. Chariots are prepared and horses are trained for the journey ahead coming. You spend time in the armory selecting weapons for yourself to carry. A bronze sword with a gold inlaid handle is chosen, fitting your status. A bow and arrows are selected for use from your chariot riding. Your armor is lightweight, allowing movement but providing protection from weapons attacking. The chest piece is bronze polished to a mirror, shine reflecting light. A helmet with the Uraeus serpent marks you as Pharaoh even in battle. The day of departure arrives and the army assembles outside the palace gates. Thousands of soldiers stand in formation with their weapons at ready positions. Chariots line up with horses stamping impatiently, eager to move forward going. You address the army, speaking words of encouragement and confidence in victory. You remind them they fight for Egypt and the gods who protect it. You promise rewards for bravery and success achieved through their efforts made. The army begins marching south with you at the front in your chariot. The people of the city watch as the army passes through the streets. They cheer and throw flowers, wishing you victory and safe return home. The march south takes many days, following the Nile's course, steadily going onward. The landscape changes as you move further from the civilization of the delta. The desert comes closer and the green strip narrows along the river's edge. At night, the army camps and fires are lit for cooking and warmth. You sit with your generals discussing the next day's march and strategy planned. The mood is confident, with everyone believing success is certain to be achieved. Finally, you reach the border region where the rebellious tribes are located. Scouts report the tribes are gathered with their warriors ready to fight. They have not fled, but intend to resist your authority being enforced. You order the army to deploy in a battle formation, showing your strength. Chariots on the flanks and infantry in the centre, positioned strategically placed. Archers are positioned to rain arrows on the enemy if necessary required. You ride forward alone to parley with the tribal chiefs approaching them. They see you in your royal armour and recognise Pharaoh has come personally. This surprises them, and they seem uncertain how to respond to this. You speak fairly but without anger, addressing them directly, facing the chiefs there. You remind them of their obligations and the benefits of remaining under Egypt's protection. You offer to reduce the tribute if they submit peacefully without fighting. The chiefs confer among themselves, discussing your offer presented to them fairly here. They're impressed that Pharaoh came himself, showing respect for them and their concerns. They agree to submit and pay the reduced tribute as you commanded. The matter is resolved without bloodshed, spared from violence and death avoided completely. This outcome pleases you as it demonstrates strength through wisdom, shown not force. The tribes bow before you, acknowledging your authority over them, ruling firmly but justly. You spend several days in the region, receiving the submission of all tribes. Tribute is collected and hostages are taken to ensure future compliance maintained. Treaties are signed and sealed, making the arrangements official and binding under law. The return journey begins with the army victorious without fighting a battle. The soldiers are pleased with the outcome and the rewards you promised them. They sing songs of your wisdom and power as they march northward. You return to Memphis to find the queen has given birth during your absence. A son has been born healthy and strong, just as predicted by midwives. The news fills you with joy and gratitude to the gods protecting them. You rush to the queen's chambers to see her and the baby resting. She smiles weakly, tired from the birth, but happy to see you returned. The baby is wrapped in fine linen, sleeping peacefully in a basket beside her. You hold your new son, feeling his tiny weight in your arms carefully. He is perfect, with all his fingers and toes counted and recounted, verifying. His eyes are closed, but his face is peaceful, showing no distress present. You name him after your father, continuing the family tradition as planned. This boy will be raised as a spare heir, in case anything happens. He will be educated and trained, but will likely never rule unless necessary. The palace celebrates the birth with feasting and music lasting days, continuing forward. The people rejoice that Pharaoh has another son, ensuring the dynasty's continuation. Offerings are made to the gods in thanksgiving for the safe delivery. You spend time with your family, enjoying this peaceful moment of happiness. The pressures of kingship seem distant when you hold your children close. These are the moments that make all the responsibility worthwhile and meaningful. But you know that duty will call again soon, requiring your attention always. There are always problems to solve and decisions to make, affecting many. This is the life you were born to and the burden you accepted willingly. You stand on the palace terrace, looking out over the city at night. The Nile flows eternally as it has since the beginning of time. The stars wheel overhead, marking the passage of hours through the darkness. You think about your life as Pharaoh and what you have accomplished thus far. Temples built and enemies defeated, and justice dispensed throughout the land fairly. children born and raised, ensuring your legacy will continue after you're gone. You wonder what the future holds for Egypt under your continued rule. Will there be prosperity or hardship in the years ahead coming forward inevitably? Will your reign be remembered as a golden age or merely adequate? You hope that you have served Egypt well and honoured the gods faithfully. You have tried to maintain Ma'at and keep the cosmic order balanced. You have ruled with wisdom and compassion as far as you were able. The night is peaceful and you feel content with your place in the world. You are Pharaoh of Egypt, the greatest civilization on earth existing here. This is your destiny, fulfilled with every breath taken and every action done. You return inside to sleep knowing tomorrow will bring new challenges, always coming. But tonight you rest secure in the knowledge of duty fulfilled completely. You are Pharaoh, and Egypt is yours to protect and guide forever onward. Sleep comes easily, and your dreams are of Egypt prosperous and strong always. Your children rule after you, continuing the dynasty into the future stretching ahead. Your name is remembered in the temples where priests make offerings eternally. This is your immortality achieved through service to Egypt and the gods. This is the meaning of your life lived as Pharaoh, ruling justly. This is your gift to the future generations who will come after. Good night.